something I wanted to address, which I mentioned to you guys before this, was one thing I thought they missed out on a huge opportunity when they had these skeletons of dinosaurs come alive. It's like, okay, they could have just quite easily made them the same dinosaurs used in the season one of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and tied it together with this is where all your powers have come from.
Yep.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah, considering it's non-canon, they could have easily done that.
Yep. And they could have had, say, a Eastern European dragon lying on the ground there as well.
Yeah, but didn't they who wrote the script for the movie not know anything about Power Rangers?
Pretty much.
That's possible. It's like I said, it's debatable. I'm not sure who the actual writers on the film were, but I have the box here. I can look.
Yeah,
Let's see. Production designer, photography, co-producer, screenplay was written by. Actually, the screenplay was written by Arn Olson.
Who's that?
And story by John Camps and Arn Olson. Arn Olson was actually, I believe he was one of the writers for the show. And actually, in terms of fandom history, Arn Olson actually created what is sometimes credited as the first ever Power Rangers website on the internet.
Oh,
okay. He is credited with that. If you head over to PowerRangersOnline.com and you go into the click on the fandom tab under the click Backstage Pass, and then there's a fandom button. Click the fandom button and then fix the URL. Take out the bracket and put in the letter that's supposed to be there because he screwed up his hyperlink. It took me forever to figure out why I could get to the page. I'm like, oh, there's a bracket instead of a letter there. That's why it's not going anywhere. But yeah, there's actually the full history of the online fandom, and Arn Olson is credited with the first Power Rangers website on the internet. It was really just some pictures and stuff from the show because the internet was in its infancy, so there wasn't much. But he is credited as what is considered the first website for Power Rangers on the internet prior to the, right around when the news groups on AOL were forming before any of the major websites were created.
Cool. And we'll put a link to that site down below.
I'll link to PR. I'll get you the link.
Yeah, I'll do it later. But
just make sure it's the good
sadly, Arn Olson's original site is no longer on the internet. It was taken down, but I think.
Yeah, I know it was written okay. The characters were portrayed pretty well. I still think, as cool as the opening scene was, there was no point to it aside from introducing the characters. And I thought they could have introduced the characters better, especially since they literally just lifted half of it out of the show. The whole look, we're on rollerblades, we're extreme. No.
Mm-hmm.
But,
true. But in all fairness, honestly, really, this movie takes what I like to now refer to as the Harry Potter approach.
Oh.
It sucked and was aimed for kids.
Yeah.
Well,
no, that's the second one.
But also it's the type of film where going into it, they're basically going, yeah, the audience has seen the source material. We don't need to explain it. And against to Harry Potter, it's the audience has read the books. We don't have to explain all this shit. They know what the hell's going on. With this movie, it's like, yeah, all these kids watch the show. They know who these people are. Let's get into the damn action.
Then why did they spend 2 full scenes on introducing the Rangers?
They did?
To look cool.
Yeah, the whole jumping out of the plane scene and the whatchamacallit, the skating scene that was basically to introduce the Rangers. That's all it accomplished. Was, hey, these are our heroes, everyone.
And to look extreme.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, if you're taking the approach of, your audience has seen it already, why waste the time? Makes no sense.
All the audience would have seen it.
Because they needed to fill. They needed to. Look, honestly, it's called filler.
I was going to say I don't think it was actually there to introduce the Rangers because to be fair, they hardly say each other's names or anything like that. I think it was mainly there for the typical film thing, especially for children's films, because it's a lot easier to do it. Let's show all the friends hanging out, having fun, so we can see these are actual friends before the shit goes down, and then we see how it affects them.
That's true.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like the skydiving scene. That seems like more of the introduction because like they say everyone's name when they're coming down, and then the rollerblading scene's like, oh, they're doing something, and then shit happens.
And
then
actually,
you go fight some crime.
Yeah, actually, for the opening, again, I'm going to go and jump into a little bit of the backstage here. But actually, the rollerblading scene, both of those scenes are there because they were supposed to include other stuff that got cut that would have made them make more sense and be more relevant to the plot.
Okay. And speaking of which, let's
Yes.
go into the backstage and extras, because that is the next or last category.
Then I'll just go right into this. In the initial scene, the purpose, a lot of dialogue was cut from that initial scene after they land, after parachuting. The reason for that scene was that they were let me ask, does anybody remember off the top of your head what was the cause they were parachuting for?
I don't know. I do remember.
Raising funds for the observatory before Ryan's comet came around.
Yeah.
See, that
Save our
was
careers.
there was supposed to be more dialogue establishing that they were doing this to preserve the observatory so they could establish Ryan's comet before they used it to kill Ivan at the end of the movie. There's supposed to be
Who's
more
Ryan?
dialogue. What?
Who's Ryan? And why does he have a comet?
I don't know, but anyway,
Wasn't it
basically,
Orion's comet?
well, they call it Ryan's
No.
comet in the movie because I'm pretty sure they have to pay to use the actual name.
Wait, if it's
Uh,
Ryan's comet, does that mean it's titanium color?
Exactly. But anyway, I digress. Basically, that was the initial purpose of that scene, was that they were going to, do this. They were going to have more dialogue in there talking about the observatory and the comet to establish it, so that when they used it later on in the movie, it didn't look like they were pulling it out of their ass. The rollerblading scene, on the other hand, I guess it probably was a little long, but the purpose of the rollerblading scene initially was to get them from point A to point B. Because in the original script, they didn't just rollerblade and then get summoned and teleport to the command center. They actually rollerbladed over to Ernie's, and they hung out there for a scene before they got summoned to the command center.
So it was the Ernie scene.
Because Richard Janelle was actually in Australia the whole time. He basically got like a 3-month free vacation to Australia. Because he was there as a paid actor, and they never put him in the movie, and he wasn't credited. They wrote him out. But initially, they were going to rollerblade to Ernie's, and if you recall the joke when they were jumping out of after they landed, when somebody wonders where Broken Skull is, and Aisha jokes that Ernie was serving a free dessert or lunch, and they probably landed on the roof. In the original script, they actually landed on the roof of Ernie's.
Oh.
So that was why that comment was in there. It was an offhanded joke to what initially was in the original script. Is that initially they were going to land on the roof of Ernie's, and the Rangers would have rollerbladed up and caught up with them, and there would have been a scene at Ernie's before they got summoned to the command center.
They should have left that in there. That would have been funny.
Is it true in that same scene we also see Skull go off, have sex, and that's how Spike is born?
Yes.
Sure, why not? Hey, you people. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that is why those two scenes are there. They had more to them that made them make more sense. But again, when the movie was cut down, a lot of stuff was left on the editing room floor that made some of the scenes seem like they were a little superfluous. So that's why. Continuing on backstage stuff, since this is my category of expertise, aside from awesome introductions, other backstage stuff that went on. Let's go with the major stuff right off the bat. Initially, when this movie was put together, this movie was not made by, with the exception of Haim Saban and Shuki Levy as the executive producers, this movie was not made by the TV people. It was made by the 20th Century Fox movie people, who knew jack shit about Power Rangers. As a result, what initially happened is they had planned this movie, and it was initially going to be filmed in the fall winter of 1993. And the film was... Yeah, 93, yeah. 93? 4?
94 it should have been.
4, yes, thank you, Dodgy. 94. And effectively, they said, the TV people said, okay, here, movie people, we want to do this movie, but we got to get it made quick and on a cheap budget. So here's what we're going to do. You have the actual... They had two sets of actors. They had the face actors, as they called them, which were the actual,
Hero
John
actors.
Bosch, John JDF, etc. And they had what were called the suit actors, which were the Japanese stunt guys in the suits. And so, Koichi Sakamoto's team. And so they said, all right, you guys have the face actors for a 2-month period from October to December of 1994, and that's how long you had to film the movie. After the Christmas holiday, we need them back up here to film more episodes for season 3 of the TV show, namely Return of the Green Ranger multi-part and The Wedding multi-parter where Zed and Rita got married.
That was late season 2, not season 3.
Yes, late season 2. You sure?
Yes, because the first 7 episodes of season 3 were A Friend in Need with Masked Rider, and then Ninja Quest, the 4-parter. We only saw the Green Ranger come back as the evil clone turned good again in late season 2.
Oh, okay. Touche then. My apologies. But anyway.
Hey, you may be the encyclopedia, but I'm the Ranger Power. I'm the Power Ranger stuff guy.
Yeah, fairly. At any
Oh,
rate.
you just got served.
Oh, it's on.
Bitch.
Anyway, getting back to the plot here.
Encyclopedia fight.
No. He's the encyclopedia. I am the Power Ranger knowledge guy.
Okay.
Yeah, you're. I still have the better nickname. Anyway, as I was saying, effectively,
We'll fix that later.
I started making this movie, and the producers had some initial ideas for the film. A couple of things that were going on here. Number one, they cast the movie and got all the other people they needed. They cast Gabrielle Fitzpatrick as Dulcia. Although on a side note, in the casting process of Dulcia, there was also a young woman by the name of Catherine Sutherland, who they deemed was a little bit too young for the role of Dulcia, but whom they kept in mind when they needed a new Pink Ranger in season 3.
Oh.
And thus Cat Hillard was born.
Exactly.
Meow.
Exactly. Anyway, so what had happened was they cast the film and they were ready to go, but there were a couple of bad decisions made. Most primarily, the fact that the producers thought that being that this was a TV show is one thing, but this is a major motion picture. They wanted the actors to be able to express their emotions, even while they were in the Power Ranger suits. They felt that it was important for the Rangers to be able to show their emotions and what they were feeling at the different times in the movie. So the producer had the idea that what they were going to do is they removed the visors and the mouthpieces from the Power Rangers' helmets so we could see their eyes and their mouths. And again, I'll have Mr. Shadow put up a picture of this as I'm speaking about it here. And effectively, this was so you could see their faces while they were morphed. Now, I've heard rumors as to what they were also going to do along with this. I've heard rumors that their lips were just going to be painted silver to look like the mouthpiece. I've heard rumors that there was going to be a CGI mouthpiece that with moving lips. I don't know which was true.
Yep.
I have to point out, if you're seeing their faces when they're morphed, doesn't that go against the tradition of their secret being kept even till today?
Well, I think
Plus,
true,
it gives an obvious weak point to fight.
Actually, I think the idea was supposed to be that as far as everybody in the movie was, as far as the characters were concerned, they had the visors and mouthpieces. We could just see through them. I think was the idea.
That's dumb. But I do have to say, of all the designs,
ever.
Tommy's actually works because his design is essentially the precursor to the Ninja Storm design or Hurricanea in Japan, because that's literally what their visors did when they would talk to each other in the suit. It would pull back and you'd see their entire face, and that's what Tommy's did, whereas everyone else's, if you're looking at the picture up here, literally they cut the eyes out, cut the mouth out, boom, there you go, and it looks bad.
Yeah.
See, if I could see through any part of their outfits,
Okay,
I'd be
here we
looking at Kim's chest.
I knew it. I knew that's where.
Yeah.
I second that.
Yes. At any rate, effectively, what they did, they made this decision and they filmed a ton of footage in this manner of the Ranger suit with the face actors. In addition to this, they also filmed the initial construction site scene where the Rangers first meet Ivan. However, instead of his ooze men, he created some giant rat monsters to fight the Rangers. And so that was another scene. And the third thing they did was, as they were filming the movie, Gabrielle Fitzpatrick, the actress portraying Dulcia, was diagnosed with an ovarian cyst. As a result, she had to have emergency surgery to have it removed as soon as possible, so she had to step out of the role of Dulcia. Therefore, they went with their backup choice of actress, which happened to be Mariska Hargitay, whom you may know better as Detective Olivia Benson on Law & Order SVU. A wonderful actress, and both then and now, she is a great-looking woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in the Dulcia outfit, again, I'll put up the picture here. I'll have Marcus put the picture up, and she did look great in the outfit. But while she was there's a website on the internet that the sound editor from the film was posted with some descriptions of things. She was, and I quote, BUILT built. They felt that she just didn't give the right air of whatever it was they wanted for the character. So they went with it because she was what they had. They filmed a ton of footage at what was called Dulcia's compound. This footage included the Rangers learning about their animal spirits and effectively having a Rocky-style montage, no pun to the Red Ranger intended,
Ooh.
in which they attempted to learn how to use the things of their animal spirits. For example, and this one really didn't make any goddamn sense. Kim, as the crane, was walking across a beam over a moat, which makes no sense considering she's a goddamn gymnast master at the balance beam.
Not in this universe.
Obviously not in this universe, but anyway,
But
there was that, and there was like different, and they were all attempting to do different things related to their animal spirits to hone the spirits. And the idea was they were going to go to sleep on color-coded beds, if you're wondering, yes, and wake up the next morning in their ninja outfits, their ninja spirits having come to them during the night. All that was filmed. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, so I was going to say, in my opinion, if we're going to get a different actress to play her, Evans, who's meant to be this warrior person, and it was the 90s, how the fuck did they not go for Lucy Lawless?
I was thinking the same thing.
She was probably contract issues.
Yeah. Plus, she was in New Zealand at the time.
That's right next to Australia. It's practically
Yeah,
hunting.
but flights at the time were still expensive.
At any rate, so
they should start filming Power Rangers in New Zealand just to avoid situations like this.
Mm-hmm.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, need we say more?
Yeah.
Wink,
And I would just
anyway.
like to say, I think the crane sequence would have worked better if they'd have just completely ripped off the Karate Kid and just stuck her on a post on one leg.
No,
There you go.
it should have been her and Tommy in the water recreating the Dirty Dancing scene where he holds her up above his head and
There
she
you
spreads her arms out like a bird.
There you go. At any rate, they filmed all this footage with the Mariska Hargitay as Dulcia, the helmets without the masks, the rats in the construction site. They filmed probably about 2/3 of the movie, at least. And then they went back and looked at it and realized, wow, this is complete shit.
Yeah.
So, and they had already blown a shitload of Fox's money and used up the majority of that in 2 months they had to film the movie. And about 70% of what they filmed was unusable. So they said, wow, this sucks. We are totally fucked. And so they went back to Fox and they said, yeah, we fucked up. We're going to need a lot more time and more money to make this movie. And while Fox was pissed, they got it. So what never really happened, by the time all this went down, a couple of things happened. Number one, they said, yeah, we're putting the visors and the mouthpieces back in the helmets because the Rangers are supposed to be this superhero fighting force. They're not supposed to show emotions while they're fighting bad guys. That foot was put down. Second of all, they scrapped the rat suits in the construction site scene. However, they did appear later in Return of the Green Ranger in Season 2. You can see them in there. And the Oozeman suits were created to be Iron Man's minions that he summoned during the construction site scene. Yes?
Oh, I was just going to say, I thought the rats were used in The Wedding.
No.
Return of the Green
They were used in Colonial Angel Grove in Return of the Green Ranger.
Okay.
Yes, Goldar
Which
led
was
them.
filmed in Old Sydney Town, a couple hours south.
Yes,
okay.
Goldar and
I thought that.
North.
Goldar and a monster led them around through the Old Sydney town.
So what you're saying, Aeon, is Australia is so backwards, it looks like colonial America?
No, that's actually vice versa. America's so backwards it looks like colonial Australia.
Okay, then, moving on. Anyway, that scene was thrown out and the rat costumes were thrown in a closet until they were filming episodes of the TV show, and they pulled them back out. And by the time this all went down, they threw this footage out. Gabrielle Fitzpatrick had completely recovered from her ovarian cyst removal surgery and was able to return to the role of Dulcia. So with those things fixed, they resumed filming. However, they ran into the other issue of the fact that they weren't supposed to shoot past December because the TV show had to resume filming. So the TV people had to pick up the entire production of the TV show and move that to Australia too.
Which is why we got Return of the Green Ranger and The Wedding.
Exactly.
Being set in Australia.
Yeah, those episodes were filmed in Australia as a result of needing the face actors there. The suit actors that they used for the TV show were still in California filming the suits they needed, but the face actors had to effectively film the movie and those television episodes back to back. And in a fun fact, in one of the Return of the Green Ranger episodes, I don't remember which one it is, but in one of the scenes where the Rangers are talking next to a building, in the back, you can see a large black metal structure that doesn't have any business being there. That is actually the gurney for the prop plane that the Rangers are standing in the plane scene in the movie before they jump out. it was made of wrought iron. It was so heavy that they didn't have the crane necessary to move it in order to film, so they had to leave it there.
Yep.
So
Another fun fact, during filming Gabrielle Fitzpatrick, one of her breasts fell out of her suit. And, I wouldn't mind them releasing that on some, like, what is it, like, behind the scenes, that would be nice.
Extra.
Yeah.
Poor
They're
David
saving
Yost.
that for the
Beetle,
boob
man.
ray.
I saw
Pretty
she
much.
said that at
Heyo.
Power Morphicon this year.
Yeah, poor David Yost. Had to stare at her breast.
It had to be David. But anyway, yes, that was mentioned at Morphicon. It was actually during rehearsal. They were running through a 6-move fighting combat scene when they were doing
Oh,
this.
they didn't get it on film?
I don't know. Sometimes they do record rehearsals. Sometimes they don't. It depends on the movie and the budget they have.
Someone has it on film.
Probably, but at any rate, they effectively as they were doing the moves, they were doing the scene, and all of a sudden David started staring at her, and she couldn't figure out why until she looked down and realized one of the girls popped out. So
I thought you said it was Johnny.
I didn't initially believe it was Johnny, but upon rewatching the panel, it was David. My apologies on that. That was my error. So at any rate, and actually, no, I thought it was Johnny because that's what our good friend the Fallen Angel told me because he was live at the panel. And then I watched it and realized he was mistaken. So blame him. He has fallen.
Yes.
Yes.
Boss man. Big
Exactly.
boss man.
Yes. Technically official board owner of RangerVision.com. At any rate, that happened. And the other big thing that happened with the movie was that when all of the Mariska Hargitay footage was thrown out, a large number of background plot information was also removed from the film because it was part of that sequence, and they removed the entire Dulcea's compound sequence and instead had her simply take them up to the Dulcea's plateau, and they went through the whole campfire ceremony of getting their ninja spirits, which replaced the entire Dulcea's compound sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It's too bad because that compound sequence sounded awesome.
It did sound awesome. The other thing I should mention that changed, in the initial script, in the Tengus initially followed the Rangers to Phaedos and attack them, and Dulcea saves them with her whirling sticks of doom.
Mm-hmm.
And what was supposed to happen was later on when the Rangers were on their way to the monolith containing the great power, the Tangas, having returned to Earth and reported their failure to Ivan, were supposed to be powered up by him and a new Queen Tengu created. The Tengus would have then reattacked the Rangers outside the monolith on their way there. However, in rewrites, they felt they didn't want to overuse the Tengu warriors, especially since they were going to become a new standard foot soldier enemy in the television series. And as a result, they decided to replace that scene with a scene of the number one, the skeleton dinosaur monster fight, and then later the fight with the gargoyle stone monsters right outside the monolith. Those were the two last scenes filmed for the entire movie later on. In fact, the plot information that was cut when the Dulcea's compound scenes were removed was that, number one, the monolith is actually the Nethadian monolith. Dulcea herself is the last remaining Nethadian. The great Ivan Ooze was initially captured and imprisoned by a group of warriors known as the Order of the Melodon, and Dulcea and Zordon were both members of this group at the time. And I feel like there's one of the details. Oh, and it was also the detail was that in order to release the great power from the Nethadian monolith, the Rangers would have to turn its own power on it for 20 triacs, a triac being 2 seconds. So effectively, that's why they had to take their coins off and reflect the light back at it to get it to open. So all of that was cut out and changed and was left out, changed, removed in the final cut of the movie. And it ran way over time, way over budget. The face actors were get on their feet, lucky to get 2-3 hours sleep through the whole filming of things. They're filming a TV episode and that at the same time, and it just turned into absolute hell. Additional behind the scenes stuff to talk about. Number one, we mentioned earlier how flimsy the Ranger suits were, even though they looked awesome in the movie. They were flimsy to the point that they were not all that flexible, and the stunt people had to be very careful when using them because the suits would tear very easily if they stretched them too far. This happened very frequently, and they had to solder and use plastic to put them back together for the different scenes very frequently. In one particular instance, the actor who was the suit actor for White Ranger, Tommy, accidentally did this right before an important promotional photo shoot of the suit actors. He actually tore the suit right along the right side of his crotch line, from about his crotch down the side of his right thigh. Unfortunately, because of the timing of the photo shoot, they had no time to fix it before the photo shoot. They had no time to solder and get material to re-put it back together. It would have taken hours that they didn't have. So they had to commence the photo shoot with the broken suit, and the photos in that promotional shoot were actually heavily used by Saban in promotion of the movie and other materials, and apparently nobody caught on to the giant hole in the crotch of the White Ranger suit.
Probably because he was wearing white underpants.
No, you could see his skin under it on his thigh.
Ew.
So
yes.
Again, I will also provide you with that image to put up as we're discussing it.
Great.
Oh, great. Yeah, we don't get the boob falling out. We get the dude's crotch.
We get his ball sack.
Yeah.
No, all you can see is
Well,
his
in
skin.
his defense, look who's providing the pictures. It's the same guy that keeps getting an erection over Chris Jericho in leather pants.
Fuck you all.
I didn't want to say.
Hate you all. You're all fired.
You can't fire me. I'm the one controlling the site.
You can fire us from the XPound. He's the one controlling the
Technically
XPound.
speaking, aren't you about to quit from not being paid anyway?
No.
And if Charlie Sheen's taught me anything, I'm not going to get fired by you, James, until I call you a Jew cunt.
Oh.
This
And
is true.
technically speaking, I have gotten paid a little bit.
Okay, fair enough.
He stole money.
Yeah. At any rate,
No.
that was all you can see is his thigh, but it is a hilarious picture. But anyway, other behind-the-scenes items to mention. Let's see.
The party.
Well, the big thing I have to mention is at the end of the film, after the Power Rangers have saved the day and they've resurrected Zordon from the dead, and because to those who have the great power, anything is possible.
Whoa, spoilers, much.
Shut up, Maul. It's a review.
We hate you, Mole.
Anyway.
Who effectively, and the last scene of the film, if you all recall the film, we've all watched it, it's a very large party scene where there's like tons of people. Bulk and Skull are telling stories about how they saved the day because they're Bulk and Skull, and the Rangers are having some dinner at a table here. There's just people everywhere. It's a huge party. There's a celebration. Music is playing. Again, props to the music. It's great. It's a great song. There's fireworks going off. There's just lit up fireworks sign that says "Thank you, Power Rangers." Great
Fucking
stuff.
Skull.
Yeah. Power Rangers, Bulk and Skull. That was a great scene. But anyway, effectively, two things that happen here. Number one, that fireworks scene, that's not actually lit up fireworks sign. That's CGI'd in. They had the actual fireworks sign there, but every time they set the damn thing off, the wind changed and blew the smoke in front of it, so you couldn't read it. So they had to CGI the sign in after the fact. The other thing that happened, the major thing, was that in the truest sense of Mole's most famous catchphrase, the director has done this himself. What happened was the director decided this is going to be the big end scene of Power Rangers. This is a big deal. So we need to see if we can get a few extras to be on set for this to make it look like a big deal. And through a combination of him saying this and some clever entrepreneur, to this day, I don't think it's known who, but it was announced that they were looking for extras, and somebody put an ad in the Sydney paper stating that effectively, because at the time almost nobody knew that the movie was being filmed. Nobody knew. To the point that there was even a big news report about where the large pavilion area, campground area they were using to film the movie. That there was a big news report about how Fox was looking into buying it, and little did anybody know that Fox was already filming a damn movie in there. But I digress. Effectively, somebody put an ad in the city paper saying, basically saying, bring this ad, come out to meet the Power Rangers, and bring this ad with you to be entered into a drawing to win $5,000 worth of Power Ranger toys, which was not true. That was not the case at all, and effectively, the combination of this advertisement that they still don't know where it came from, and the director's request for extra extras was basically an invitation for the entire city of Sydney, Australia to show up on set. About 8,000 people showed up.
Wow.
Which Neil and before this occurred, the majority of the cast and crew, or I should say the crew anyway, the cast had to be there because they were filming, but the majority of the crew saw this coming a mile away, and they hightailed it the hell out of there before the event happened because they knew what was going to happen.
Wow.
So they all left. A few people, again, this all comes from the reports of the sound editor who was there and went, as a true fan, went through all this. And he does have a website up with a lot of this information. You can find it if you go to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie Wikipedia page and scroll down to the related links. It's on the top there called What Really Happened During the Filming of MMPR, the movie. You can check that out. There's a lot of great pictures there, too, that he's posted of those news articles and things. But effectively, 8,000 people showed up, and the majority of the crew wasn't there. There was some camera people, the assistant director, the director, the cast, and the sound editor that did this, and a few other people stayed, but most of the crew together. And this is them trying to deal with 8,000 people. Needless to say, it did not go well. First of all, one of the biggest things, I mean, is number one, in Australia at the time that this was being filmed, Season 2 episodes had not yet aired in Australia. As a result of this, none of these 8,000 people had any way of knowing that Rocky, Adam, and Aisha were Power Rangers. Because Season 2 hadn't aired yet.
That they could meet the 3 new Rangers.
Say that again? Hang on,
Didn't
my phone.
Sorry. I think you showed me the ad the other day. Didn't it say that like they also had the chance to see 3 new Rangers that didn't appear on the TV show yet?
Maybe it was. I didn't read the article. I did send you the article. That's entirely possible. But
yeah,
either
I think
way,
it did.
even if they read the article, they had no idea to know these particular people were those new Rangers. They had no way to know. So basically, the 3 of them were actually schmoozing to the crowd the entire night. Nobody knew who they were. And even JDF, David Yost, and Amy Jo Johnson were actually schmoozing around for a very long time. And nobody, because they were in regular street clothes, even if they were in their colors, and nobody really noticed them. It wasn't until Paul Schreier and Jason Narvey walked on set in their full Bulk and Skull costumes that everybody realized what the hell was going on. That's when JDF and Yost were immediately found and were immediately mobbed with autographs. And Amy Jo signed some too, but Yost and JDF were filming autographs. Meanwhile, the producers are trying to get this under the control to film. They're trying to find everybody to get this thing filmed, to get the scenes going. They got a megaphone that nobody can hear over because there's 8,000 people. And effectively, they managed to get the actors up and get the filming done. And in between cuts, Jason and David are both running back down to the crowd, signing autographs as frantically as possible for this crowd in between cuts. And effectively, it was just an absolute freaking madhouse.
Yeah.
And
like most of Australia at the time.
Yeah, and a lot of fans when they showed up, and there was no toy raffle. People were upset about that. But the director who caused all this crap got his comeuppance, or I should say the assistant director got his comeuppance, and that as this whole thing was going on, a little girl got lost from her parents somewhere in the crowd and ended up running up to him and like latching onto his leg and refusing to let go. So he has the girl up, and he's got his his megaphone that you can't hear at all because of this crowd. All production is stopped because he's not there to direct the scene because he's trying to find this little girl's mother, and he's got this little girl. He doesn't know what to do. All production is stopped, and all hell's broken loose. And our good friend, the sound editor, reporting says, "Serves you right." He has done that himself.
Yeah.
So I believe, if memory serves, aside from some minute details about filming locations and such, one other backstage thing I will mention quickly. The actress who portrayed Rita Repulsa in the film, if you don't know, for the first season and beginning of second season of MMPR, Rita Repulsa was actually the Japanese footage of which Bandora, portrayed by Machiko Soga. As a result, American voice actress Barbara Goodson merely dubbed Rita Repulsa's voice over her lips, which is why in the first season her words never match her lips, because it's dubbed and not well. When the second season came around, they were out of footage from the Sentai source footage, Zoo Ranger, and so they had to film new footage and get an actress to portray Rita Repulsa. Instead of letting Barbara Goodson just put on the suit and be Rita Repulsa, I don't know if they wanted somebody younger. I don't know. Younger, but they found a woman named Carla Perez who became Rita Repulsa in costume while the voice was still dubbed over by Barbara Goodson after the fact. And later on, both actresses have expressed that they wanted to be the voice and the body, but they wouldn't let them. However, in the film, in MMPR, the movie, the actress who plays Rita is not Carla Perez. It's actually a completely different actress that does the suit work for Rita.
Gee, how did you find that out?
Because, Mole, you pointed it out to me.
Bakada.
Thank you, Mole. But anyway, yes, that was a completely different suit actress playing the physical version of Rita in the film, while Barbara Goodson continued to dub the lines over. So that's another one interesting fact. It is a completely different Rita that only played Rita in the movie.
Interesting.
Other thing. There was supposed to be a running gag where Billy was repeatedly teleported into puddles. It was going to be a running gag where every time he teleported, he landed in a puddle. But in the construction scene where they ended up several times, they found that the water was toxic and polluted to the point that they couldn't let him stand in it. So they wrote the gag out. So that gag was written out. Let's see, anything else?
One more thing.
We must do research.
And this was the brief version.
I know. But I believe...
Abridged encyclopedia.
Precisely. So I believe that's all the...
One more thing. One more thing.
No more things.
One more thing.
Anyway.
And then.
No, and then.
Is that it for backstage stuff, Mr. Walking Encyclopedia?
I believe that's it for the behind-the-scenes information on the film. I can't think of anything else on the top of my head, and if I could, it would just be a minute thing that wouldn't be all that relevant. So.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there you go.
How about the fact Zordon's head was different?
Oh, thank you very much. Wow, how did I miss that shit? Thank you. Wow, I feel stupid now. Anyway, the Zordon.
You've done that yourself?
I have done that myself. I'm shocked.
Expertise, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. I'm a sad clown.
Well, speak, sad clown, speak.
Anyway, effectively, in the television program, for those who don't know, the original Zordon was David Fielding. His face was used for the Zordon image in the tube and just distorted with a computer effect, or a film effect at that time. It was 93. And effectively, to look like Zordon in the tube. David Fielding voiced Zordon for about the first 10 episodes of MMPR, give or take. At that point, David Fielding left the program, I don't know why, and Bob Manahan took over as the voice of Zordon. However, they did keep David Fielding's face for the duration of Zordon's appearances in Power Rangers up until his, I guess I'll say, untimely death in Power Rangers in Space. However,
Thank you, Andros.
Yeah.
You douchebag.
Unrelated behind the scenes. There are actually audio outtakes from Forever Reddit in which, at the end, when they're all boasting about things, Andros goes, "Well, I killed Zordon," and Jason goes, "Wait, you killed Zordon?" That's hilarious. But anyway, the face actor for Zordon in the movie was a completely different actor who was not related with the show. They got him just to be the face of Zordon, and also I know he was the face of Zordon. I'm presuming that he was the Zordon laying there in the moo-moo. But the voice was still dubbed over by Robert Manahan. So that was also another aspect of that as well.
Does anyone else have anything they want to add to the backstage juice?
No, not me.
That's
Also,
an interesting fact. Originally, this film was going to be directed by one Michael Bay.
Fuck you, Molly.
Not.
Fuck you.
But James, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, a little fun fact, the cockpits that were used, some of them were duplicated and just had their colors changed. Namely, I believe the ape and frog and the wolf and bear were the same cockpits with a color swap. However, those cockpit sets were actually sold to Planet Hollywood, who destroyed them about 2 years later without telling anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cockpit sets, sadly.
And I was going to point out, this film couldn't possibly have been done by Michael Bay, as we know, because they already had the script done for season 3, and it'd be a little redundant doing Michael Bay's Power Rangers and then doing Alien Rangers.
Oh,
Oh,
touche.
there is logic in what he says.
But
My
now,
work here is done.
Oh.
Hmm?
I should have mentioned it earlier. Also, when during the time that Mariska Hargitay was portraying Dulcia, and you'll see this in the picture, she actually had a furry blue sidekick. I can't remember the character's name off the top of my head, but he was supposed to be Dulcia's comic relief counterpart. However,
Wasn't
when
it
Gabby,
Snooky?
yeah, it's something like that, Snark or something like that. I don't know. Snarf. I don't know.
Snarf.
But
No,
anyway,
it's clearly Snooky.
hilarious.
anyway,
No, Snooki, he would have been orange. Anyway, effectively, that character was written out when Gabrielle Fitzpatrick returned to the role, and they cut out all of the compound footage.
Ah.
Also, I have another thing. Wow,
Great.
memory coming back.
one
thing.
more thing.
Johnny
Thank
Bosch.
you, Uncle.
Johnny Bosch is actually responsible for the whole "I'm a frog" thing. Initially, they had it simply written as as it was, and he took it normally like the other Rangers, and it just went on. But Johnny said, hey, can we do a take where I seem really disappointed that I'm a frog? And they said, let's do it as it's written first. They did it, and then they let him do it as where he was disappointed, and he got the kiss from Gabrielle, and they liked that version better, so that version ended up in the movie.
Yay.
Like,
Now I'm done.
Adam, what's wrong? I'm a frog. Yes, a frog. Like the way you kiss to get a handsome prince.
Part of me really wants to know if there's an outtake where they're doing that scene, and as she goes to kiss him, he grabs her and dips her and starts Frenching her.
That would be awesome.
Because doesn't that sound like something Johnny would do?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He grabs her.
Oh, yeah.
Smiles. She's like, what? He goes, Bankai, and then kisses her.
Wow.
And I'm presuming that's a reference to one of his anime characters.
To Bleach.
One of the like 400 he does.
Exactly.
Yeah. Literally 400 plus.
Yeah.
Literally.
If it's not him, it's Stephen Bloom.
Yes.
Pretty
That's the way
much.
the universe works.
Or Nolan North.
No, he's only in video games.
Oh, okay.
He's the Johnny Bosch of video games.
Pretty
Because I don't know. Because I know Steve Bloom does all the games with him. So.
Yeah, he does both.
Anyway,
He branched out. No.
let's go ahead and wrap this up. We'll go to final verdict. Everyone give your final thoughts of the movie and your rating of the movie as a whole. On the show, we do it out of 10. And so I'll just quickly go ahead and give mine. Usually I go last, but screw it, I'll give mine first. I thought the movie was pretty good for a Power Rangers movie. I enjoyed it. Loved the suits, loved the characters. So on the whole, I would say if you're a Power Rangers fan, especially if you're a Morphin era fan, I would definitely check this movie out if you haven't seen it yet. You can see it on Netflix. It's there. You could probably
We'll get the DVD for a couple of bucks.
Yeah, or get the DVD, or you can probably find it on.
Yeah, it's like $5.
Yes, if you're here in America, I purchased the DVDs of each of these two movies for $5 each at FYE. I'm sure
Do you have any backstage information about FYE?
I don't egg them on.
No, I actually don't, sadly. But yeah, the DVDs don't include any additional behind the scenes information. There's the featurette making of, and there is the trailer. That's all that the DVDs include for both films. So.
Yep.
The featurette would only be on the US DVDs. They're not on the Australian release.
Ah, well, there you go.
On my one, yeah, we only have the trailer too.
Yeah, if you're over here, FYE. If you're in my area, the woods in New York. If you're up in Marcus's area, you can go to Fry's. I'm sure they have it.
Or FYE.
FYI.
Or Best Buy.
I didn't know if you had FYE over there.
Yes, we do.
FYI, fun fact: we found out the UK DVD was about 5 minutes shorter than the US one.
Yes, that is interesting. No, that is interesting. No, because as Crystal and I watched it together. Along the second film along with Nero Rossi, and we did discover that and for some reason his version of the film was about 5 minutes longer, and as a result he ended up shorter. Was it mine was longer or yours?
Yours was longer. That's why I was always ahead of you.
Right, that's why you were ahead of me, because there was for some reason we don't know why, but for some reason mine was about 5 minutes longer. So, and we also found out, I believe, well, didn't you say that even mine that was longer was still 5 minutes shorter than the theatrical cut?
That's what that's what I read, yeah.
And that can't be attributed to the frame rate conversion.
It can or it cannot.
I said can't.
Oh, okay.
Because
Cannot.
usually, yeah. You say with the Harry Potter films, they're filmed at 24 frames per second. Australian release is 25. US release is 30. And they're all about the same length.
Interesting.
So,
Anyway, getting back to the topic at hand. So yeah, give it a look, especially if you're a Power Rangers fan. If you're a fan of any of these actors or actresses, hell, if you're a Bulk and Skull fan, it's still a fantastic watch because
I
they
agree.
are funny in this movie.
Really
Also,
underused.
if you're a Bulk and Skull fan, go check out the Bulk and Skull Power Morphin panel where they have a huge pipe fight, stay in the walls, and get in huge trouble with the hotel.
Indeed,
I should say.
on YouTube now. But yeah. So I'll give this movie. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It was a decent movie. So whoever else wants to go next, feel free.
Yeah, I'll go next.
All right.
Overall, I liked it. There were some things I could nitpick here and there, but overall, it was an enjoyable film. If I had to rate it as a film, though, even though if you're a Power Rangers fan and you're watching this, you've probably already seen this film, so you don't really care about the ratings. So I'm just going to give it 7-point chair out of 10.
Fair enough.
oh, Christ.
I'll go next. In watching the movie again, like I said, I've owned the VHS tape for years and years. After the movie came out, I bought it used from a video store that was getting rid of it many years ago. And I've always been a big fan of the film. I always thought it was a great film for its time. Looking back on it now in retrospect, I have not watched it in a while, and in terms of overall. In terms of Power Rangers media, it's probably the best thing ever made in the Power Rangers franchise, I would say. In terms of overall quality of everything overarching the film. In terms of quality of plot, that will be Time Force, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Just
I'll
remember
start
who
for
our
another time.
audience are. Just remember who our audience are. They're the kids that watch Power Rangers at the moment. You may need to explain what a videotape is. Go.
Ooh.
A valid point. It basically it was what we used before DVDs came out.
There
Yeah.
you go. Big
So
black things.
yes,
Black boxes
QJ?
with film tape in it.
precisely.
With
At any
USB
rate,
tape.
yes, and not the kind of black box that Jaden puts on his sword either. Not that one.
Oh,
Oh!
snap.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
Anyway, continue, James.
Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, and I remember seeing this in the theater when it came out, and I remember, like I said, I had the little McDonald's toy of Billy and the Wolf Ranger, and I remember I really, really liked this movie when it came out. I really did think it was awesome. I do recall that even when I saw it back then, I was wondering where the hell the Megazord's face was. I do remember that. I didn't mind the Megazord itself, except that it had no face, and that was really weird to me, having seen the Megazords from the show. But I did enjoy the movie. I would say, in retrospect, as when it first came out, as a kid watching it when it came out, probably an 8 to an 8.5. In retrospect now, given how it's aged as a longtime fan, probably brings it down to about a 7.5.
Fair enough. Let's go with Richter.
We drafting people now?
Yep. Oh, do I get to go to SmackDown now? Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I didn't see it back in the day, so I just saw it 3 weeks ago when Marcus and I saw it, and my kids seemed to like it. So I imagine that if I saw it, back in the day, I would have liked it. And by nowadays standard, really just the CG is rough. All the rest of it's pretty solid. So I'd give it, probably 7. That sounds fair.
In comparison to the quality of the show at the time, it looked,
yeah.
I will also point out, with your respected age, Richter Hammer and Marcus Shadow,
Mhm.
back in the day when that first came out, weren't you guys like in your 20s or 30s?
No, I was actually going to mention.
46 at that point.
I was going to mention, in comparison to the rest of these guys, they say they saw it when they were kids. When Power Rangers came out, and this is going to date me and Richter, but when Power Rangers came
the blue
out,
one that came out.
we were in. Yes, I know, but we were in like late middle school or high school, so we weren't exactly kids yet. I saw Power Rangers when it first came out, and I got instantly hooked on it. I loved it, but
It was the first of its kind at the time.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also that I was thinking that might also contribute to the reason why Richter and I really felt that even for its time back then, the CG was just terrible because we were old enough to have seen enough TV and movies and stuff and to know what good CG is.
Huh.
And we're just like,
Not
yeah, this
Voltron
is crap
Force.
even for its time.
Not
It
vehicle
was
Voltron.
no Beast Wars. I'll put it that way.
Yes, oh, Beast Wars.
Beast Wars.
But that might be
Beast
something
Wars.
soon to the rise from the airwaves.
Yeah,
Possibly.
even by today's standards, even that's rough, I will say. But yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
At the
it's
time.
held up fairly well though compared to G1.
yeah. Well,
it's no
story
reboot.
wise, writing, yes. The CG, just looking at it nowadays, I'm like, this is a bit rough. I wish they'd redo it, but that's totally different.
Yeah, we'll
Hey,
discuss it
reboot.
from the airwaves.
Yeah, that's why I said
We'll
it's
get
no
to
reboot.
reboot. We'll get to reboot Beast Wars G1. We'll get to that later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead and finish your thoughts on the movie. Did not mean to interrupt.
Ricky?
Rector.
No, that was it. No, I said the score. Sorry, that was.
Yeah, I'd wait
That
until
was-
he finished.
Okay, my bad. Then let's go to. We'll go to Nero Rossi because you've been kind of quiet.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll agree with what Richter said. It's solid for being Power Rangers. Didn't really care for the CGI, but as I was probably 3 or 4 when this came out, so I loved anything. Back then, I probably would have given it a 10, but watching it now, probably I'll give it an 8.5.
And
Just
oh, go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were done.
oh no, that's it.
All right, and we'll end it with Aeon.
Yeah. Plot-wise, it's fairly solid. They could have done to expand, say, what the older powers were. Say, give a little hint as to what the older Zords looked like before we just got the new ones. But then again, that's assuming they even had, say, the Green Ranger in that universe. But yeah, plot-wise, it's okay. The Zords on their own, yeah, they were better than the bloody show quality at the time. I'll put it like that. The Megazord, I'll give that a B-sod out of 10. Thank you, Microsoft. The Megazord combined. The Ninja Falcon Megazord looked a lot better than just the Ninja Megazord, mainly because of the friggin' wing pack.
Mm-hmm.
The Nita Crotch maneuver, I'll give that a Joker out of 10.
There you go.
I'll give that a Joker out of 10. Overall, about 7.5 out of 10. And that's even with nostalgia goggles on.
So there you have it.
Better than the show at the time, but
Yep.
quality, it's been replaced by later seasons.
Yep. So there you have it, folks. It's pretty much unanimous. Aside, CG aside, it's a pretty solid movie. So give it a go. You know, if you have kids, your kids will love it probably, especially if they're into Power Rangers now. So I would like to thank all you guys for sticking with us and listening to this, but we're not done yet because we have another movie to go. So you listeners, go grab a drink, use the bathroom, whatever you got to do. We're going to do the same, and come on back and join us for Turbo, a Power Rangers movie.
Oh joy.
Shoot the turbo!